Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. I hope you are doing well. My name is FPL Phillips and today I'm bringing you another one of my team selections, this time for Game Week 10, as my season goes from bad to worse every week if you're tuning into one of these videos. Yet another red arrow for me in Game Week 9. We'll get into how the team is performing in just a moment and some drastic action that I am considering taking. Still got the wild card in the bank, but I'm hesitant to use it with 2 free transfers. Let's have a look at my team, how I'm thinking of using those 2 frees, plus any additional transfers I might be making with regards to hits. Then also having a look at the top captaincy pick for Game Week 10 as we compare 4 different players for this game week. And then finally, we'll be wrapping things up with the top 10 predicted point scorers for Game Week 10. So make sure to stay tuned for all of that, as let's get into things. And so after another red arrow in Game Week 9, my current rank sits at 1.2 million, so we are just dropping a little bit every week. The Spurs boys in Maddison and Son did come through and regain me some sort of dignity after not owning Salah really being the main thing in Game Week 9 that did really damage my rank, as well as, Ollie Watkins and the rest of Aston Villa and their attack doing pretty well as well. Watkins the main one, of course, who was any sort of real threat to my rank. But yeah, that is what kind of damaged me and ended up putting me down at an even worse rank than what you can see right now. But Maddison and Son did manage to claw something back, despite their teammate Udogie being subbed off pre-60, which I still think needs a rule change. And for the record, I want to see in FPL, and I've been saying for years now, really, is that the 45-minute to 60-minute period, if a player plays that long and doesn't concede, they should get at least 2 points, I reckon, for a clean sheet. So at least half of what you get if you manage to get to 60, because the difference between those 2 minutes being 4 points just does seem a little bit unfair. I know I'm saying it right now when there's been an issue with it in my own team, but I still think there's no reason for that not to be a pretty good rule change. I know there's drama at the moment, but why not make that rule change? I think it would be fair to everyone. I don't think there'll be too many who would disagree with that coming into the game for next season. But anyway, you're here for my team selection, maybe, or maybe you're just tuning in for some regular FPL content. But let's see who's in my side this week. In goal, it's a tricky one for my goalkeepers this week. Johnston up against Tottenham is the one I'm currently opting to go for, despite, Crystal Palace not doing too well in Game Week 9, and then also, having a pretty tough fixture up against a side who I own 2 attackers from. So, very much going against the other players in my side, but I'm hesitant to use a transfer on goalkeepers at this point in the season. It is one thing that would, swing in favour of maybe activating the wildcard chip this week and getting someone like Areola in maybe. But right now, not too many clean sheets coming into my side at the moment anyway, not too many clean sheets in general that I feel confident enough loading up on a goalkeeper from a team for this week and considering it as something that's going to put me towards using the wild card over just using my 2 free transfers this week. Because if I do use the wild card, I'm essentially burning a transfer. I made the decision almost in Game Week 9 when I rolled that I would want to not use the wild card this week. So I am looking to try and stick to my guns. In that vein in defence, I think it's looking pretty decent still. Next game week is a bit tricky with regards to fixtures, but I think that'll be the case for a lot of managers. I've still got some nice looking fixtures this week, albeit 2 away fixtures for Trippier and Udogie, who have Wolves and Crystal Palace respectively. And then Matty Cash, who's got Luton at home, a player who I used a hit, who took a hit to get in last week. So I'm still looking to try and maybe see that pay off down the line. It still hasn't. I'm not yet to break even on that. Cash has dropped off a little bit in terms of attacking output since I brought him in, which has been disappointing, but I'm still hopeful. And a home game against Luton, of course, Villa have a magnificent home record at the moment. All things point towards that being an absolute smasher where Villa score another few 4 or 5 goals maybe in that one. But anything can happen in the Premier League. Knowing it now, it'll probably end up being 1-1 or something in that fixture, as everyone who doesn't own Watkins looks to try and get him in this week. But yeah, that is another thing I will be considering, is of course that Ollie Watkins is not in my side right now, as is the main man who misses out of my team, Mohamed Salah. And the midfield in this team looks pretty shocking right now. I held on to the likes of Mbomo, Foden and Rashford for one more game week. Mbomo came through, and Son and Maddison, of course, who maybe I wouldn't have had both of if I wildcarded last week, also came through. But Foden and Rashford once again let me down. Those 2 are for sure on the chopping block this week. I'm going to at least be taking out one of them, those 3 being Mbomo, Foden and Rashford. It's just, do I take out the second one? And if so, who do I bring in? Because as much as I'd love to have Mo Salah in my team, it's a very difficult stretch of things to try and get him in. I could have made the early moves on Saturday evening to try and do something like a Foden and Rashford to a Palmer and a Salah, but now Palmer's gone up in price, so I am priced out of that. It's just a difficult situation trying to get Salah in with just 2 free transfers. It will likely require a hit, and Palmer's fixtures are just kind of putting me off right now. We've only seen him score 2 penalties. I would want to see a little bit more before committing to him in a 5-man midfield where I would go to have to field him every week. Given the fact that I just don't want to play 4 at the back at the moment in this season with how things are going and how hard it is to get clean sheets, and Mubama is my 3rd forward, so there's no chance I'm going to be starting him. So that's the kind of predicament I'm in at the moment, where I could go for Salah, I could just do Rashford and Foden to something like a Bukayo Saka, who's got Sheffield United this week and who I would love to have back in my side, and then Foden maybe to a Gerard Bowen or something, and still, have a little bit of money hanging around as well to maybe move out Mbomo next week, make a defensive change next week, something like that, even changing my goalkeeper down the line maybe. But yeah, up front is where there are the issues of Haaland and Alvarez going up against Manchester United as well, of course. Haaland or Son for the captain's armband, a very tough decision at the moment, but we're going to get into it. I would love to have Mo Salah to put that armband on. But yeah, that is another thing that is in our favour of taking a bit more of a drastic action, maybe a hit to try and get Salah in, is that he is captainable this week. But there are other players who are captainable as well, as we'll get onto in just a moment. And I am looking at maybe, if I can save some money by not going Salah in midfield, could I maybe get Watkins in up front to have him in my side and maybe even look at him for the captain's armband? On the bench currently right now, we've got Turner, Botman, who hopefully should be returning from injury sooner rather than later. I wouldn't probably want to start him next week, but maybe the week after that. I think Newcastle have Arsenal in game week 11, so I'd probably start the 3 that I've already got for their somewhat more attacking threat, although those attacking returns from defenders have seemed to have dried up when it comes to Udogie and Cash anyway. Trippier does seem to be his old consistent self. Then it's Kabore and Mubama as the final 2 subs. So let's get into having a talk about the captaincy and who I might be bringing in to put the armband on for this game week. And so I'm currently on Heung-min Son, although more than likely the captaincy would probably end up on Erling Haaland come the game week 10 deadline. But those are the 3 options that I'm considering captaining to the right-hand side of your screen. Salah, Saka and Ollie Watkins, who I think are probably the 3 standouts this week, given their fixtures being at home and being a lot kinder on paper than an away trip to Old Trafford. And the predicted points totals this week also back going for those 3 over going for the Norwegian, with Saka actually leading the way on 7.8 predicted points, Salah only just behind on 7.6, and then Watkins on 6.7. They're all lower ownership than Haaland as well, who will probably still be a decent amount captained by just dead teams and people who maybe don't have another option, like myself if I didn't make any transfers this week. But yeah, Haaland can perform against anyone. He's done damage against Manchester United in the past. I'm by no means saying that United are a formidable defence or that Manchester City couldn't go away and do some damage at Old Trafford, as is shown in the history of that club. But yeah, Erling Haaland is outshone by Salah in particular, but also Saka and Watkins as captaincy options as per the predicted points. In terms of the opponent specifically, Sheffield United look like they've got the poorest defence in the league, 2.53 expected goals conceded. Luton not too far behind, they're on 2.24 expected goals conceded per 90. And then Nottingham Forest not looking too bad really, 1.43, although they are a little bit worse on the road, the data has shown, than they are at home. But yeah, this is all for home and away fixtures combined. When we look at the away, they'll of course all be worse on the road, these teams of Forest, Sheffield United and Luton. I'm actually assuming that, don't quote me, but you can check it for yourself via the OptaStats tool if you'd like to check that out over on Fantasy Football Fix. Link is down below in the description to try it out. In terms of the team so far, Liverpool, the best looking attack in the league, 2.31 expected goals for them as a team per 90. Aston Villa then, leading the way over Manchester City, and then Arsenal actually, the worst of the bunch on 1.82, although it is rather tight, only, was it 0.14 between those 3 teams that I just mentioned. And then in terms of the individuals, Mohamed Salah's data is unmatched, 9.23 expected FPL points per 90, which if you don't know, combines all that XG, XA, expected bonus points, and all that data from the OptaStats tool. Then it's Erling Haaland, then we've got Saka, and then Ollie Watkins. So if I had Salah, it'd be no question really, I'm captaining him this week. It's just a matter of, is he worth going for over maybe going for a Saka or an Ollie Watkins when I can get them in with a little bit less hassle and not having to take a hit. But we'll have a look at the top 10 predicted point scorers for the rest of the top 10. So Saka, Salah are already there at the top. Odegaard is in there then on 7.1 predicted points. Ollie Watkins on 6.7. And then Gabriel Martinelli on 6.2. So a lot of Arsenal inside the top 5. Although Martinelli's probably one that I wouldn't go too near, given that we have seen Trossard get quite a lot of minutes. There is rotation available there in that attacking third, and Saka and Odegaard seem a lot safer. And to be honest, Saka's just a standout option there when he's probably going to take most of the penalties, you'd guess. Of course, we've seen Odegaard take 1 or 2 already so far this season. We've then got Haaland on 5.8, Alexander-Arnold on 5.3, Bowen also tying there alongside Diaby on 5.3 apiece as well, and then Saliba on 5.2. So Bowen and Saka, probably the two I would like to go for this week in my midfield. Let me know what transfers you guys would do if you had this team, which I'm showing off. If you've got any questions with regards to your own side, feel free to pop them down below in the comments. I'll try my best to get back to you. I've got a bit of a busy schedule at the moment with all my studying, so sorry if I haven't been able to reply to many of your comments in recent weeks, but I do much appreciate you guys continuing to tune into these videos, I should say. So yeah, the plan is probably just the 2 free transfers, Rashford and Foden, to Saka and Bowen. Let me know if you guys would do anything else. I could, of course, go for someone like a Diaby, maybe. A little bit concerned about his minutes, but when Aston Villa are scoring so many goals, maybe he doesn't even need the full 90 to be able to do more damage than one of those other 2 that I've mentioned. Or maybe even taking a -4 for Mbeumo to Diaby and going full out and changing my 3 of my midfielders in one game week. So there are some hits I'm considering, you know, probably not for goalkeeper. Maybe a defensive change could be something that I look to go for as well in a week's time. But yeah, ultimately, Saka's probably going to be coming in for Marcus Rashford. Second most likely transfer out is going to be Foden or Mbeumo. Most likely to Jared Bowen, but then also could be a Diaby, or I could do both of those moves. Is there anything else? Is there anyone glaring that I'm missing from this team? Would you take drastic action to maybe get Mohamed Salah into this side? And how would you do it with the 1.2 million in the bank? Would you have to take a -4 or maybe even consider something like a -8, or would you just maybe even wildcard? A lot of questions, I know. Give me your 2 cents down below in the comments if you fancy. But other than that, I wish you a happy rest of your day. Thank you once more for tuning into the video. If you're looking forward to Eddie versus the algorithm, leave a thumbs up on this one, and hopefully I can see you there. But goodbye.